City Council. It is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026, 7:30 PM in council chambers. Tony, please call the roll.
Erickson.
Here.
Bevins.
Here.
Chesak.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Stunek.
Here.
Yeager.
Yes.
O'Day.
Here,
Bedell.
Here.
stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we have approval of the agenda. Sounds like we have some changes to be requested. Mr. Chesak?
I'd like to motion to approve the agenda and move up the annexation item under, right after public forum, and also to the last two items there with the presentation by Bolton and Mink to switch those, the last two, just, we got the Stauber item, put that, after, and then, I did want to amend the consent to remove, I think it's, the J and I believe. Gustafson Park, whatever they are, Gustafson Park and the, Mr. Gorham item to have.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
You would like 10A between 9A and B? Is that,
I'm not sure where they are.
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion by Chesak, second by Bevins. Any discussion? Seeing none. Go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. We have an agenda. Next up, we have the consent calendar. This is a notice to public that all matters listed are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call.
And Mr. President, I would ask that the two items mentioned earlier be removed and I would approve consent with those two items to follow.
Okay?
Second.
Motion by Chesak, second by Bevins, removing J and I. Any discussion? Tony?
Erickson.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes. Next up, we have 5I. This is a resolution designating Gustafson Park as parkland. And Mr. Chesak, take it away.
Yes, I just had a question or two on this. I think I know the answer. I want to make sure. Maybe city attorney, is this resolution binding, meaning that, or is, I think it's not a binding resolution where the future councils cannot supersede this action, correct? I mean, a future council could change this, is that correct?
Are you referring to the resolution involving Mr. Gorham?
No, this would be, am I on the right one? Did I do?
You're on the right
This would be the Gustafson Park resolution.
Oh, sorry. Yep, I'm on the wrong one. I'm one ahead of you.
It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, the city council always retains the right.
Okay, I just want to make sure. And then for Mr. Gorham, the reason I'm bringing this up is so I understand, and I think other people.
Mr. Chesak? This one, 5I is a resolution, so we should actually motion on that resolution before
I
we move
motion to
on.
approve then?
Second.
Motion by Chesak, second by Bevins. Any discussion? Tony, call the roll.
Erickson.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes, that resolution carries. 5J, go ahead, Mr. Chesak.
I thought this was a little odd in the first place that it's supposed to be made public and we're having it on consent, so there's not really much said other than it's on the agenda. But that being said, I guess when Mr. Gorham has this item in front of him, he just needs to abstain is how I understand this action would be taken. Would that be correct, Mr. Attorney?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And the reason I brought this up also, Mr. President, was because in the past, there was some issues related to conflict of interest that I remember former City Attorney Fitzpatrick weighed in on with opinion. I'd ask our attorney to maybe, if he knows, let us know when a council member or board, planning and zoning commission member or board member abstains, my understanding is that they're supposed to actually identify the reason for their abstention. And I'm asking you that because a lot of times all we get is I abstain without a reason. Do you know if by law there's supposed to be some sort of acknowledgement of what the abstention is based on?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, there actually is nothing in the statutes or Minnesota law to the effect that you have to state the rationale for your abstention.
Okay.
Not saying that's not a bad idea, but it is not required.
Okay, that's what I remember, so maybe I'm mistaken or it changed perhaps, but I guess I would ask that as far as abstentions, that at least people serving in the city acknowledge the reason, otherwise people just go, well, why is the abstention? So, other than that, Mr. President, I would move to approve this item.
Motion by Chesak. Second by Bevins. Any discussion? Seeing none. Tony, please call the roll.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that resolution carries. Moving on to number 6, this is public forum. This is time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. Time limits may be imposed. Looks like we have a lot of people here that may want to speak tonight. If this is regarding the annexation agreement, that will be up next. We move that forward so you guys don't have to sit through all the other exciting stuff that we're doing. So if you're here to speak on that, just hold off for now. But if there's something that's not on the agenda that you want to speak to the council about, please come forward. And if you're online, press *3, that'll raise your hand. Yep, come on up, sir. Just name and address first, please.
I have to give my name, my address.
Name and address, please.
Do I have to?
That's typical, yes.
Anonymous.
Anonymous?
I don't have to give my name or address. I'm a citizen of
Langle?
the United States. I don't really have to.
That's up to the city council's
City
protocols.
council, city attorney, I'm free. Okay. Well, as of January 2026, Amy Klobatcher and Tina Smith secured $500,000 in federal funding. I don't know if federal funding has to do with city council at all. But you guys already poured $400,000. Hey, I have heart and soul into this city, many, many years, into that water tower and whatever. Grew up many years. I love that. It's in your head, every printing and all that. There's been many collections on POSs, many fundraisers, everything for that. $400,000 last time went into fixing of that, the top of it. I understand, okay? We gotta save the history of this town, all right? I'm gonna make this quick as I can, a couple of bullet points. And then another $500,000 is being poured into it, okay? I got a stucco house myself. I own whatever. Let me get to the point. $900,000. Okay, $500,000 hasn't been poured into it, but $400,000. And all that's been done is there's purple lights and whatever lights on it now. Working man here myself. Okay, and also I'm a taxpayer. Taxes are going up and up and up. Property taxes, everything else. Plus the pure fact of we get taxed on this, we get taxed on that, we get taxed on this. The Constitution, large government, all that took over, small, whatever. We should not be getting taxed on this, taxed on that, taxed on this, taxed on that, taxed on that. Okay, you walk around, Paul Bunyan Trail, all that. You guys can't even put a garbage can there. There was a garbage can there a couple of years now ago. The garbage can is gone. People put plastic bags up there. You know, maybe it's, oh, and also, you guys can't even paint the crosswalks, man. There's a street down there. This is not for me, my own sake. This is for safety, let alone. How come you paint 3 corners, but you can't paint the 3rd or the 4th? Also, intersections. Especially that one down the way. I guess you can't. I guess it's got to wear out over time. It's a safety hazard. You know what I'm talking about, that 4-way stop down by the old U-Haul rental. You can't even, like, paint it right to where, I mean, the old, just fix it, man. And maybe it's to the point of, I love this town, but maybe it's to the point of people say, oh, Brainerd's a great place to drive through, not stay. You guys are spending money all over in the wrong places. Hey, you fixed Bartown at one time eventually. That's nice. Let's beautify this town more. Maybe something will get better. Instead of town, let's make this town better. I love it, man. I'm not trying to at you guys. But you know what? It's also speaking for the working man and woman. We're getting sick of our taxes going up. And, you know, also, there's many other things I could speak on, but maybe I'll just save it for some other day. It's been an emotional week for me, too. I'm not even going to get into that. Family, like that. But, man, just please, man, city council, do your thing, man. I know you guys can do good. I've seen you do good before. Okay? Just do things right for us. Okay?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Chesak.
I would just like to make it known if there's issues that people have, phone calls, emails, I'm willing to listen to anybody with ideas of making our city look better. I would believe most every one of us up here would as well. So that would, so I didn't really have a chance to take notes on what you were saying there, but I'm interested in hearing them. So that's all I got.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Chesak. If there's anybody else that would like to approach the council on anything that's not on the agenda, please do so now.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen, for listening.
Thank you. I'll ask one more time if there's anybody here that would like to approach the council about anything not on the agenda. Please do so now or press *3 online. Nobody? All right. With that, we will close the public forum at 7:41. All right, next we have moved item 8B behind public forum. This is the resolution for the orderly annexation agreement, and I'll give this one to James Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Council directed staff to work with Crow Wing County staff to draft an orderly annexation agreement for the Riverside Drive area. The orderly annexation agreement, which is the joint resolution, designates an area for orderly annexation, and the map is attached as Exhibit A. The agreement does not immediately annex properties into the city. The agreement has been reviewed by both the city and county attorneys, and if agreed upon, the city could annex by resolution, subject to the agreement and based on the following criteria. Number 1 would be owner petition. Number 2 would be city-initiated island annexation, which is those properties or pockets surrounded by municipal boundaries as well as a body of water. And the third would be city-initiated, so those are properties that are currently available for municipal hookup, and those that the city will provide utilities within 2 years of annexing. Area 1 and 1 property of Area 2 along Riverside Drive would be subject to annexation if the joint resolution is passed. Most of Area 2 would not be subject to annexation as municipal utilities are not currently planned for Ashman Road or Shady Hills Trail. This agreement would allow the city to begin planning and researching feasibility, but installation would not occur most likely for several years as the city has a capital improvement plan in place. City and county staff work together to create the proposed orderly annexation area map based on the following reasons. Available utilities along Riverside Drive and partially down Ashman Road to supply Old Stonebridge development. The area is or is set to become urban in nature. Number 2 would be environmental considerations. Most properties in the OAA is in a shoreline district. If municipal utilities are present, it is significantly better for the environment. Property owners are required to certify their septic every 3 years, but that does lapse at times until a property owner pulls a permit or is selling their home. Number 3, also to consolidate maintenance, as the city already maintains Ashman Road. Highview Circle, Old Stonebridge, and Island Drive are already city streets. So again, sewer and water would need to be provided within 2 years along Ashman Road and Shady Hills Trail in order for the city to annex. So with that, staff recommends to hold a public hearing and a motion to approve the attached joint resolution, the orderly annexation agreement as presented, and staff can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. We will start the public hearing shortly, but before that, if anybody has questions for Mr. Kramvik or our staff up here on council.
Yes, I have one, if you could give me
Yeah,
1
Mr.
second.
Chesak, go ahead.
Okay, so in the resolution, and it's in other documents as well, city annexations shall make public infrastructure available within 150 feet of all annexed parcels within 2 years. When you say 150 feet, I think Mr. Kramvik can help me with this. So if we make public infrastructure available 150 feet from somebody's property line, that would suffice, but who's responsible then from that service line to the, I guess what would be called the right of way at the property line?
Mr. Dean, you want to try to answer that?
Dean, Mr. Kramvik?
It's tough to answer very much specifics. Generally, when we do a replacement project or an installation project, we do stub those lines right out to the edge of the right-of-way or the property line. Instances where we not go out to that would be on a case-by-case basis.
I didn't catch the last few words.
The areas where we wouldn't extend all the way to the end of the right-of-way or the property line would be probably on a case-by-case basis, but generally our general practice is to extend those service lines to the edge of our right-of-way.
But generally speaking, the property owner would be only responsible to pretty much their property line for their service line?
For most intents, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Anybody else have questions for staff up here? Seeing none, we will move on to the public hearing. So it is 7:45. I will open the public hearing. So if you're here to speak on the orderly annexation agreement, come on up and do so now. Yeah, please come up. Just name and address first, please.
Sure. Hi, my name's Rachel Kahn, and my husband Russ and I live on Riverside Drive in the area of the proposed annexation. First of all, thanks to Jeff, James, and Jesse, who have answered a lot of my questions already, but I came up with some more. And I thought maybe the rest of my neighbors would maybe have these same questions. We have significant concerns about the impact this annexation may have on our property rights, tax obligations, land use, and overall financial responsibilities. Before any further action is taken, we respectfully request clarification on the following. 1, the projected change in our property value. Will our property be reassessed? 2, projected annual property taxes and any additional city taxes, fees, or assessments that would apply. 3, estimated cost of required utility connections. 4, what zoning classification will our property receive? 5, would any new building codes, inspections, or regulatory requirements that would apply upon annexation? 6, long-term infrastructure or development plans affecting the area. 7, will eminent domain risks increase? 8, the last question that my husband and I have is, can the city explain as to how the annexation benefits property owners? And I appreciate James this morning. He spoke to this a bit in the county meeting, but I'm not clear. So as property owners, we believe it is essential to fully understand both the short-term and long-term consequences of this action. We are very concerned about the potential substantial financial burden. Until these matters are clearly addressed, we respectfully object to the proposed annexation of our property. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have a perfect answer for that many questions right now. This isn't the time where we typically have a question and answer session, but very good questions, and I would respectfully ask you to follow up with our staff on any of those questions in the future. Come on up, sir.
The first question I would have is, my name is Richard Schmidt. I am speaking on behalf of the residents of the River Arches and Car Drive area, identified in Exhibit A. And I want to inquire if you received the petition that was done up by the residents in our area. You've received that? Thank you. I'm here tonight to respectfully oppose the proposed annexation of our properties into the city of Brainerd under Minnesota Statute 414.0325. Annexation is not just a boundary change. It is a permanent shift in governance, taxation, infrastructure, and community identity. Under Minnesota law, annexation must serve the best interests of the affected area and demonstrate that municipal governance is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare, and that burden has not been met. First, this proposal would increase property taxes without clear justification. Annexation typically results in higher municipal tax rates. Yet, no comprehensive fiscal impact study has been shared publicly showing how increased taxes would provide proportional benefit to our residents in the area. Transparency is essential when asking property owners to assume long-term financial obligations. Second, the justification of improved services does not hold up under scrutiny. Our current township-level services are adequate. In fact, the city has previously declined snow removal services from Car Drive and River Arches due to the road incline and the narrowness of that road. Residents have adapted responsibly by funding private snow removal services that not only clear roads, but also help seniors and disabled residents with driveway and walkway clearance. Under city control, those additional services would disappear and require further out-of-pocket expenses. There has been no demonstration that annexation would meaningfully improve service quality. Third, annexation would alter the character of our neighborhood. River Arches is known for its dense vegetation, tree canopy, and wildlife habitat. Residents chose this area for its natural environment and privacy. Road expansion and infrastructure upgrades could require clear-cutting of numerous trees, increasing exposure to Riverside Drive traffic and noise. That would permanently change our quality of life and potentially decrease property value. The statute requires consideration of the area's character. Our neighborhood remains rural and wooded, not urban in character, nor in need of city-level intervention for safety or welfare. Finally, major governance changes should not proceed without clear public support. To date, residents have not been presented with a comprehensive financial modeling, infrastructure plans, or long-term tax projections. Annexation should not move forward without transparency and meaningful resident consent. Annexation under Statute 414.0325 is not automatic. It must serve the best interests of the affected area. At this time, that has not been demonstrated. For these reasons, I respectfully ask that this annexation proposal be denied, or at minimum delayed, until full fiscal analysis and documented majority support are provided. Thank you for consideration.
Thank you, sir. If anybody else would like to come up. Come on up, sir.
Glenn Millender.
Sorry, I'll ask you to say that to the microphone if you could.
Glenn Millender, 15098 Riverside Drive.
Welcome.
This is the first I've seen of this stuff. I assume you guys met with the county and did all that stuff before you let us in on it. I don't think that's the way to go about it. You had to have plannings with Crow Wing County, right?
Our staff met with Crow Wing County
Yeah.
staff, yes.
So why are we just finding about it with our land painted pink and no notice beforehand? The other thing is more of a practical thing. I'm down a hill and I'm wondering how they're gonna pump sewage up that hill and how much that's gonna cost me. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
My name's Ken Mimak. I have property at 15857 Ashman Road. I actually had several questions, but I just heard you say that this isn't a place for questions, so I guess.
Yeah, public hearing, we're just here to hear your concerns.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'd be here
Okay.
a lot
So
longer.
a clarification then on the resolution. So there's a draft resolution, but are you planning on taking action on that resolution tonight? Because it sounded like the way it was read, that there's a Part A and a Part B, and some might be delayed later. Can you clarify, is there actually going to be,
There could be action taken on the resolution tonight. It would be a joint resolution, so it would go to the county next.
okay?
Once the county and the city, if agreed upon, would then go to a judge. So this is a long, kind of a drawn-out process that wouldn't just be ended tonight. So
Okay. And so if there's a resolution that's sort of in limbo, how do we get some of these questions answered? We need to contact staff directly, is
Yep.
that right? Okay.
Yep, our staff is
All
available
right.
for questions.
So I guess a couple comments. We are opposed to the draft resolution as it's written. I don't know if there's an opportunity to separate the resolution between the different phases, because as it sounds like there is still some studying to be done, there's still some comment to be done, there's still some impact studies to be done. So I would encourage the council to spend time looking at that and take that into consideration for all of us. Right now, our property is on Gilbert Lake, and I believe that most of that lake shore is still in the county versus the city. So now we would have some issues or some questions about the governing regulations and things like that for lakeshore management and how those properties are handled. The other thing is, I believe that what you're talking about is going to require some additional cost by the city, because as I understand it, the services right now are only partially the way down the hill of Ashman Road. And most of those homes that you're talking about annexing along the lake there are below the road level. So as the gentleman before spoke, I would assume, and actually it's not good to assume, but there's going to require lift stations if you decide to do that. So all those property owners that you're talking about that are along the lakeside are below the road level. And so who is going to pay for those things, and what's that going to cost all of us? And as I heard earlier, and I would encourage you, let's get that information to all of us so we understand. I myself just spent $30,000 updating my septic and my well. And so, realizing now that this conversation was going on, maybe I could have saved myself some significant expense. We would also like to know what the impact is going to be on the lake. I mean, on one hand, it sounds like by having curb and gutter and things like that, it possibly could improve the lake quality. Obviously, we're very concerned about our lake there. I actually own the property where the sewer stops, which is halfway down the hill. And it's been difficult for us because the stormwater that comes down that hill ends up on my property. And so I would encourage you to also look at that as you're designing this out, that we have an opportunity to have comment on the design, to make sure that it's not negatively impacting property like what happened when the sewer was initially stubbed into that area there. So I guess in conclusion, I do have a lot of questions. I'll try to contact the staff for those questions, but I would ask the council to delay acting on this resolution till we get more answers on that, and that we have some answers as to whether or not the resolution needs to be done all at once, or if you actually have phases of this plan, communicate the phases to us and let us have the opportunity to talk about those phases when it really becomes more feasible and the direction is really planned to do that. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'd like to follow up with that, please.
Yeah, come on up.
I was at the meeting this morning at the county, and Mr. Krambeck talked about one of their main concerns is the environmental concern, and that you're going to enhance the environment or the lake or the water quality by annexing this and putting sewer and water in. I'd like to read you just a little bit about septic systems, if I may. Septic systems are not inherently bad for the environment. In Minnesota's lake and river country, they are often environmentally responsible choice when properly designed and maintained. Septic systems treat wastewater on-site before it reaches groundwater, lakes, or rivers. Our soils and natural microbial processes filter contaminants and reduce nutrients locally, which is essentially important in water-rich regions like the Brainerd Lakes area. Phosphorus and nitrogen are the primary drivers of algae blooms and declining water quality in both lakes and rivers. Modern septic systems reduce these nutrients at the source. Property by property, rather than transporting raw sewage long distances to a single discharge point. This decentralized approach lowers overall risk. Septic systems also reduce the chance of large-scale pollution events. When a septic system fails, the impact is localized and correctable. There was one house just up the road from us on Riverside Drive who recently experienced that. And I don't know if that really kicked this whole thing in gear or not, but it's my understanding that to correct that problem, which required a lift station to be put in, cost that property owner $30,000. Substantial amounts of money we're talking about here for our residents. From a land use perspective, septic systems preserve natural shorelines and riverbanks. Sewer expansion requires trenching, pump stations, and easements that disturb soils, increase erosion, and accelerate runoff into surface waters. Finally, septic systems return treated water to the local groundwater system, supporting base flows in rivers and stabilizing water levels in lakes. Sewer systems export water out of the watershed permanently. In low-density lake and river areas, septic systems are not a step backward. They are science-based, sustainable solution that works with Minnesota soils, groundwater, lakes, and rivers, rather than against them. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have a couple people that want to still get up here, but yeah, come on up. Just name and address, please.
I'm Rebecca Olson. I live at 14761 Riverside Drive, and at the present, my house is in the city limits, but the other 11 acres I own is not. I prefer it to stay out of the city limits. There's no benefit to me. It's used for, I'm able to bow hunt on it now. If it comes in the city limits, is that a possibility?
It still would be.
And there are 5 hookups for sewer and water on my property. Would I have to pay for those? Even though there's no buildings ever going to be there in my lifetime? I'm against the annexation, because what I need is already there. And my neighbor up the road, by the way, already has city sewer and water, but he's in the county. He's not in the city. So why should everybody else have to join the city in order to get their sewer and water if they want it?
Thank you, ma'am. You'll get up here eventually. We'll get you. We'll get you.
Take a number.
Come on up, sir.
Sorry about that.
Just name and address, please.
My name's Tom Carson. I live at 14904 River Arches. We are the very end house on River Arches Road. I think Mr. Stunick's been there several times, so he's familiar with the neighborhood. What I wanted to bring, the point I wanted to bring out tonight is we chose a spokesman, Richard, for the 6 inhabited houses that are on River, either Car Drive or River Arches. Excuse me, I'm nervous. So I know there's several other people that have talked. Most of us won't talk because there's just too many to talk. But I know that all 6 inhabited houses on our street are at this point anyway, against the annexation. And I would guess that probably the majority of people here probably are against it. And especially given the fact that we really have no study as to any kind of cost, environmental impact, or anything. This is just like proposed without us having any knowledge about what the impact is going to be on our finances, our wildlife, or anything. Our area down there, there's a swamp right in the middle of it. That's part of what adds to that kind of wildlife effect of our neighborhood. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that this is not just a few vocal people that are against this. I would guess the vast majority are against it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Evening. Eric
Evening.
Bakula, 15137 Riverside Drive. There's a lot of good points that have been made here. I'm sure there's a lot of people with the same kind of disturbing feelings about what's going on here. But we own that parcel on the north side of Riverside Drive there. It looks like it butts up to Riverside, but it does not. I don't know if this laser pointer works, but we're 640 feet off Riverside Drive. We have an easement accessing the property. That little sliver on the bottom portion there that butts up to Riverside is actually owned by a blue house at the end of our driveway. From what I understand, there was nobody that went out and walked the property. It was merely a parcel lookup. They looked at the two-dimensional plats and decided to connect this. There's another triangle down there where there's a water runoff. And when this project was originally done, was my understanding that there was some conversation about donating that by the previous owner to keep the back parcel outside of the annexation, or outside of the sewer and water. But I'm curious, is there any statutes about the distance off of a utility before you force somebody to join? Because that access will create a significant damage to the properties between us and Riverside Drive to access that septic and sewer and water for the trenching. We have no access to the east. We have no access to the west. There's a little runoff area of Gilbert Lake there to our west. And to the right, there's a ravine. And so we don't have an easement across there either. So what I'm trying to understand, and what we haven't had time to really explore, is how we got or how we're being included in this from our initial understanding when we purchased the property, what's happening with it, and with what was done with that water runoff area down there. So I also would ask that you guys withhold voting on any of this until we can get clarification on the impacts, financial impacts to the property owners, and specifically to myself, because I have no doubt that's going to be several, $100,000 at least. Plus, we just put a driveway in like within the last 3 years, and our septic is in compliance. We have a new drilled well since we purchased the place 12 years ago, and so there's really no benefit to us. And we're on 3+ acres, so our drain field and well are well away from the water area. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, I'll be quick. Okay, I am Tom's wife, and like he said, we live at the end of River Arches. We are the lowest level to the river, and we are within the federal flood reserve, and we are required to carry federal flood insurance when we have a mortgage on a house. Fortunately, we've had that paid, but our last payment on that house last year, the one we made, was $3,600 just for that flood insurance to the federal government. And if you annex us in, and we are required because we are so low, someone said we'd probably need 2 lift stations. We go either under or through what I call a frog pond. It is, but it's a small pond, but depending upon the year, the weather, the level of the river. So if that happens, we're both retired. We live on our retirement incomes. We would have to get another mortgage on the house, which would then require we'd have to go back on the federal flood insurance program. We wouldn't be able to live there. We would just be financially incapable of doing it on our retirement pay. But thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. Come on up, sir.
Bruce Smith, 15090 Riverside Drive. And just need a clarification, and I thought I heard this morning at the county meeting that our septics are approved for 3 years, and then we call you, and you come out and you have an approved septic person to do that. And my question wasn't really clear, was that I had a clearance on mine from last summer for 3 more years. So what happens after 3 years? Can I just get the county to approve my septic again, or do I have to hook up? I don't know what.
If you have a quick answer, it seems like a pretty simple question.
Yeah, so based on the orderly annexation agreement, as long as the property owner recertifies every 3 years, you would not be required to hook up until that system fails.
Right. Okay. Anyone else that wants to speak? And if there is anyone online that would like to speak, *3 would raise your hand. Do we have anyone on there, Max? Again, I'll ask if anybody here wants to speak, if you're still thinking about it. Come on up, sir.
Dan O'Reilly, 15859 Ashman Road. I just want to express my opposition. I think the opposition of most of our road. Again, we are far below the road level with our house. All of our neighbors and ourselves have invested considerable money in our septic systems and our well systems. There's no tangible benefit for us, for the environment, for anything really, to annex down that road.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone else still thinking about it? I'll ask one more time. Again, nobody. Come on up, sir.
1515 Highview.
Your name, sir?
And Bob Johnson.
Welcome.
And I don't have much to say about it, other than my dad came up with a good saying many years ago: if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I don't think there's anybody here that's going to beg you people to come in and try to get annex into the city, because I'll bet you 95 or 98% of the people behind me don't want it. And other than that, it's way too expensive for most of us that live there. I've been there for 32, 33 years and never had a problem with my septic system. I did replace my well because the well casing rotted or rusted out. So I did replace that. But like I say, if it is not broken, don't fix it.
Thank you, sir. I know there's somebody still thinking about it out there. So I'll ask again, if anybody wants to still come up, please do so. And still nobody online, Max? Looks like nobody else. All right, we will close the public hearing at 8:12. And next, we will have a discussion. So if there's anybody here on council that wants to start that conversation, go ahead. It's a tough position that the city is in. A little history, I don't know if a lot of you have heard about, when this infrastructure was put in 2003, it was an understanding that the laws were a little different. Something has changed since then. Before, it was you guys were going to lose the opportunity to have septic systems, and you were going to be forced into annexation anyway. So the infrastructure was put in ahead of time. That changed. I'm looking at Mr. Kramvik. Was that 2004?
There was a previous, yeah, thank you, Mr. President. There was a previous policy that's been included in other packets passed by City Council at the same time. It wasn't directly related to this project, but again, passed around the same time. It was a city policy that stated once the septic failed, that there'd be a required annexation and a requirement to hook up. Again, staff does not believe at this time that that's enforceable and would have to look further into it, I guess.
Okay, thank you. The way that these regulations work, that is not in place anymore, but we know the way the government is, especially the federal government and state government, they like to overregulate. Eventually, it's going to be harder and harder for septics to be replaced. I just see that coming in the future. We can wait until that happens, or we can look ahead. The annexation, what it could do is allow us to plan for replacement better. It would allow for a lot of future planning. I don't think any of the Ashman Road is on any project in our capital improvement plan for at least 10 years. So that part of the annexation, that's why it's phase 2 or area 2. That probably wouldn't be annexed for at least a decade. But I know we do have some water experts here. One of them just walked out, but Mr. Sandy, if you have anything to add as far as what you know on those regulations and what might be coming in the future.
Yeah, I mean, in general, you know, as we look more at like water quality, surface water quality and things, that is something that is on like the MPCA's radar, you know, getting lakes sewered, like cities like East Gull Lake went through a pretty long process back in the early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s on sewering most of the Gull Lake property along in East Gull Lake for reasons of water quality. And so it wasn't a lot of that funding that came for that project in East Gull Lake was federal funding to improve water quality. And so it has happened in this region in the past as the Gilbert Lakes of the world and things continue degrading in water quality. That's one of the first things they usually go after is sewering these areas. And it's usually the request of the agencies to request cities to extend sewer and water services to these areas to provide those sewer services.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Mr. Mayor?
James, can I ask you to just talk just briefly to the people here? Because some of the people, sounds like we're at the county this morning. Some of them were not. Everyone, this is James Kramvik. James Kramvik is one of my favorite employees because James is very good. No, this is why.
Top 10, please.
Top 10, well, top 50. Top 50 employee. But James is very good at just talking in regular terms about what's going on. Can you just explain to people where we are in terms of like what the county's looking at, what we're looking at, and why we're here just to begin with?
Yes, so this morning I attended essentially a county workshop meeting for them to ask questions of staff. City Administrator Broyles also attended. This is a joint resolution, it's before the City Council tonight. City Council did elect to hold a public hearing, not statutorily required, certainly wanted to hear from property owners in this area. So if passed, it would go to the county board meeting on the 24th for their consideration. So it does have to be passed jointly by both the City Council and the county board. Certainly, this was looked at. There was a property that was referenced that had kind of a major septic issue this past year that needed an emergency hookup. So that kind of started this conversation here about, it was a fairly difficult process to get them annexed. There were some issues with that. So City Council did direct staff to look at this area and work with county staff to propose an orderly annexation area.
Yeah, go for it.
So we're not annexing anything currently tonight, though.
That's correct. So this joint resolution only establishes an area, then City Council, if this is reviewed by a municipal judge as a valid orderly annexation agreement, then the City Council would have to pass a subsequent resolution in order to annex any property pursuant to the orderly annexation agreement.
Yeah, so the only reason I asked is because we had someone that had mentioned, and we didn't hear anything about this. We're just going through the paces of it, and that this isn't actually to annex anything. This is to begin the conversation about what that annexation would look like. But it's to create a pathway forward, if you will. But you're absolutely correct to speak now, because this would be the time to do that, to say absolutely oppose the agreement and the process moving forward. But we're not making any decisions to make any annexations, just putting forward a pathway of what that would potentially look like.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. President?
Mr. Chesak.
I have a couple of questions based on some of the questions and the comments I heard, if that's okay?
Yep, totally.
If staff could help me with this, when there's a elevation issue with sanitary sewer, and I heard a lot about lift stations, that would be an independent lift station, as I understand, on that property owner's side of the sewer main. Who is responsible for the cost of a independent lift station if those are required?
If it's required to get to the main, that would be a property owner initiated one.
Okay. Do we know about how many of those could be potentially required on this project if it moves forward?
Unfortunately, I could not answer that question. That's a lot of questions on internal plumbing and where folks have their lowest level of service. We do have an idea of where the service lines and what depths those are on Riverside. We don't have anything extended on Carr, River Arches, or Ashman at this time, outside of the one short section. Those would be scoped at a future time and what those depths could be. Obviously, that's something that we're always being, or at least trying to be cognizant of as a staff, as part of that planning process, is making that connection as feasible as possible for folks.
Thank you. That's all I have at this time, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. So just to clarify, Mr. Dean, so for areas that are lower, like Carr Drive, there could be a lift station that would be on the city's side that could take care of a lot of those issues instead of just putting all lift stations on every individual property.
That potentially could be one of the solutions for the city to take on.
Thank you. Mr. Yeager?
Thank you. Wow, these are fun ones. So I'll just start off by saying that these are the types of meetings that I lose sleep over, because these meetings are filled with a lot of emotion. They're filled with a lot of decisions that affect people that aren't in this room, and of course the people that are in this room. So just real quickly, I'll just want to go through and say, first of all, that I have a lot of the exact same questions that I heard asked tonight, and I feel that for me, to be able to move forward with even creating the annex zone, I just feel like I want more. I want to know, I feel like I want to have more information on what the actual impacts are going to be financially to the people that are, not only the people that are in this room, but the people that didn't show up, right? So I just feel like I'm operating a little bit in a vacuum with what this cost is, and what the impacts are to the citizens, to the people that are in this room that are concerned about being annexed in. That's a 100% fair question to ask. So I feel like I would like to just pump the brakes a little bit and ask staff to just help us just rough it out a little bit before I would be willing to move forward with that. I would just want to have a better idea of service line hookups, pump lift stations. We have a ton of topography over there. We have a ton of vegetation, all of that. I just feel like I'd like to know more before I could move forward with saying annexation over here is a great idea. Okay, so that's the first thing. A couple other things though that I want to point out, and that is I'm fundamentally opposed to the idea of a city-mandated annex on anyone's property, and it's for this reason. I believe that when you set out and you buy a piece of land or a house or whatever it is, you have a reasonable expectation that during your ownership of that land, it is going to kind of be in the form that you set out owning it. Whether you intentionally decided to buy land that was not in the city or not, I believe the expectation exists of what you're buying is what it will be for your lifetime, potentially. When you buy in a neighborhood, you expect your neighbor to kind of look this way and this and so forth. So that is the fundamental reason that I do not support city annexation on parcels during ownership. However, I also believe that annexation is a real thing. A lot of cities do it, and they do it because it is, in general, has a lot of good qualities to it. We know that when we put stormwater and water and sewer to properties, it's better for the environment. That's not debatable. We know this, right? It's better for the environment. We know that. We also know that if we can spread the burden of cost of running a city and all of the parts and pieces that even the people that don't live in the city use and appreciate every day, it's better for the whole. Okay, so this is annexation to me is a conversation about me versus them, us versus. So that's where I feel like annexation has a place. To say that the people who live in these little fringe areas that are very close to the city or in these island areas receive no benefit at all from the taxpayers, their neighbors, maybe just a door away, paying the share of the burden is myopic. That I do not believe to be the case. When people who live in these parcels call 911, when they call for an ambulance, when they call for services, those response times, the equipment that those teams show up with, those are paid for by taxpayers. Maybe your neighbor right across the street is one of those people that's helping to pay that you then are taking advantage of. That is the argument for annexation. It's a real argument. And I believe that if everyone were to look at the city as a whole, everyone would say we should all share equally in our responsibilities to the services that we receive that are a good thing for our lives. Okay, that's the argument for annexation. So I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm just rambling on. I'm sorry. But I'm the first guy that really volunteered to take this on, so you gotta give me, all right. So, but what I do support is annexation at transitional sunsets. And what that means is that during your lifetime, if you own this property, you get it, and you do not have to annex into the city, but many cities adopt a system where when that property transitions to a new owner, when it's sold, when the property owner is deceased and it transitions on, then they can be annexed into the city. And I do support transitional or sunset annexations. That's all I have to say. Thank you all for coming. Be patient with us all. Everyone is trying to do the right thing here, and it's very hard sometimes. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. A lot of good points. Mr. Stunek.
I am going to speak. Do I need to name my address and name?
You can if you want.
It's seldom that we have a council meeting that this place is full. You're here because you don't want that done. That hurts me a little bit. I don't want it done either. I'm going to support Mr. Yeager. Pump the brakes a little bit so we know more information. If you were all here supporting it, I would support that. But when I have all you people here against it, I'm sitting here because of you people. So I have to, whether I agree or don't agree, again, I agree with Mr. Yeager. Let's pump the brake, get more information, and make a professional decision.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
A motion when you're ready.
Looks like Mr. Chesak has something. Yep.
Yes, question for staff. Regarding the next phase of this, if this moves forward tonight, it's on the county board's agenda for next Tuesday. You indicated earlier, Mr. Kramvik, that the county board has to approve this for this to move forward. If they don't, what happens then?
At that point, hypothetically, if city council passes it, is that the question?
Yep, if we were to move forward with this half of the agreement to the county board and they don't agree, what happens then?
Sorry.
Well, it's an agreement between two counties, or two government entities, so they both have to agree to it. I suspect that if the city council approves it and the county board does not, that there would be further discussion between the two governments as to what the sticking points are. If that falls apart, then it's a dead deal.
Okay, may I?
Yeah.
Okay. But if this does go before the county board, then it will go before a judge for final approval? If the agreement is, or does the judge come involved if we then go through our next phase of this, if the county board agrees with us after tonight?
If both governments approve the agreement, by statute, it goes back to the Office of Administrative Hearings for the judge to review it. But that aspect of it is really just a review of whether the statute's been complied with. It's not, they're not going to be doing a hearing or anything like that on it. It's a fairly pro forma process from their perspective. The state assumes that if you comply with the statute, then all the terms and conditions that are in that agreement, that's what you guys want to do. And if the statute's been complied with, that's all they're concerned about.
Okay, one more, Mayor?
Yep, you have the
Okay,
floor.
and then the process is identified here is we have it on our table first, it goes to the county board. Is that a requirement that it take that course of action, or could we so-called put the brakes on tonight and then have them review it first, or do we have to go first on this?
There's no statutory requirement as to which entity reviews it first, approves it first. It's just at the end of the day, they both have to approve it for it to go forward, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Mr. Bedell?
Yeah. So I'll give a couple comments just super fast. I'm not shy about my distaste for government. I'm pretty anti-government mayor. But this is what I think the government is for. Government is about contracts between the public interest and private individuals. And this is a great example of that. You guys have an opportunity to come in here, speak your voice, let us know what you think, and then we have to make decisions based off of what we think is best in the best interest for everyone. The county approached us with this. I believe that's how this started.
City staff and county staff held discussions after,
Sure.
after
After we had an
discovering
issue,
that,
yeah.
and it was more of a collaborative effort.
Yeah, which is usually what happens, right? Something happens and then we have to have discussions about it. But I appreciate it. I really appreciate everyone coming and speaking. I really appreciate when you select a voice. I loved hearing that. Thank you so much. Because sometimes we just get swamped with everyone. But one of the things I like to do when people come in is just keep track of where you live. You know, it's important to me to have an understanding of who's speaking and what they're speaking about and what the issues are. I think there's tons of issues that could arise from this. I think that there is positive that could come from it as well. Eventually, just so everyone knows, eventually as time marches on, this stuff is going to happen. You know, whether it comes from this council or it comes from a different council. But I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate when people come in. I appreciate how cordial you've been as well. It's really important to me. And if you have questions, please reach out to our staff. They'll try to get you as best of answers as we can get to. But for the most part, what I just want people to know is we're in no position where we're trying to quickly push this through or do anything of that matter. We're really just taking a look at this because it's one of the things we got to do. As government, we have to take a look at the contracts between the public and the private and see what those lead to. And I'm just happy to see you guys here and hear your voices. So,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the slower we go, usually the better decisions we make.
Always.
Happens all the time. Mr. Johnson?
I'd move to approve the attached joint resolution, the orderly annexation agreement as presented, and I so move.
Motion by Johnson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Chesak. So we have a motion. Any discussion on that motion? Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, this isn't annexing anybody. This is a plan. This is when we do go to Ashman Road in 25 years for an annexation. You say, well, where did this come from? It's because we had an agreement that was in place 25 years ago. Because we haven't had an agreement, this does seem all sudden right now. And I understand the frustration. I thank you all for speaking tonight. But we got to have an agreement with the county on the long term what's going to happen when sewers keep failing. We got to have an agreement. We have to know what we're doing and what to do when that happens. This agreement may not be perfect, but it can be changed. When we identify something that's not perfect in it, we can improve upon it. This is the starting point to have a long-term plan for that neighborhood. So I support it. I think we should have an agreement. I think we should have a plan. If there are improvements, I'm all ears. But this is a starting point. This isn't an ending point. This doesn't annex a single property. Those are all different votes. So I support moving forward with this.
That's a good point, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. It does make it hard if we don't have an agreement to do any sort of detailed project planning or cost analysis on a lot of these properties. So it is a very good point. Any more discussion? Mr. Chesak?
Yeah, I appreciate Gabe's explanation there. It really succinctly clarified how this process works. And I can guarantee everybody here that nobody up here is taking this lightly. When we first moved forward with directing staff to work with the county, I was not looking forward to this day. If you didn't realize as well, Mr. Krambick identified that this public hearing here is not a requirement. And we acted as a council to, this is I hate to put it this way, but our public body here, this city council, had this public hearing. It's not a requirement. And that's why I'm as appreciative of everybody else that you've all come here tonight. Like I said, nobody's taking this lightly, and we have to have this agreement. It's for the future. It's not only for the city of Brainerd, it's for Crow Wing County. It's for the shoreland ordinances and shoreline, or all this thing with water and sewer. If we want to get this into a public infrastructure, and it's much to do with the safety of the environment, as corny as that may sound, but it is. And this sewer and water line was put in many years ago, and I think somebody had indicated earlier that it's inevitable. And do I like to sit here and tell you folks that we're going to come along and, your taxes will go up, other costs will be your burden? No. But when we're representing the municipal, the city, these are things that we are responsible for. And again, it's not an easy deal. And so I think Mr. Johnson summed it up very clearly as to where we're at in this process, and that's why I seconded the motion. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Any more discussion on the motion? Looks like we don't have more discussion, so for this resolution, Tony, please call the roll.
Erickson?
No.
Bevins?
No.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
No.
Yeager?
No.
O'Day?
Yes. That resolution fails. Would anybody like another stab at that motion?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Mr. Bevins.
I'd throw out, move to direct staff to give us as much detail as they can without hiring an additional engineer.
So you want this brought back to us in a couple weeks?
Yeah, and come back in a couple weeks and see if we can answer some of the questions that were brought before us.
Okay.
Seemed like there were some good questions. By the way, I support the annexation agreement, just not exact, I would like to know more.
Okay.
One of the things, I'll stop with that motion.
Second.
Motion?
That's a really long, super long motion by Bevins.
Second.
We have a second by Chesak.
What?
All right. Any discussion on that motion?
Yes.
Mr. Chesak?
I mentioned it earlier, but we directed staff to move forward with this. I think if any of us are up here not expecting what we're having here tonight, I'm not the only blind one in the room.
Good one. I like it. Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I'll support the motion. I always appreciate more data and more answers to questions. But I've been through issues like this before. There will never be a point in time when every single question has been sufficiently answered. There will always be an additional question. So that's why I made the motion I did. But I'll support this. Let's get as much information as we can in front of us in a couple weeks and move on from there.
Right. I'll add that this information could change into a completely different written resolution where we could have a lot more information about every individual lot and parcel where we could consider others before, instead of all of phase one and phase two, two different times. We could do one at a time if we would like to. So, any more discussion on that, Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, I'll just say that I'm going to support the motion as well. Ultimately, I do think annexation is ultimately probably inevitable for the area over time. But I agree with kind of slowing this down. I think, as some have mentioned, this wasn't an opportunity for a back and forth, but I feel like a lot of the residents brought up some really good questions. I think our excellent staff probably has those answers. And so I want to give additional time for those questions to be answered. I think Mr. Johnson's correct. This has been a long-standing conversation. I just think that, somebody mentioned there's a patchwork. I mean, some are in, some are out, some who are out are on. And so I think, it's an effort to kind of clean all that up and provide some unity and some clarity. But I think we just move slowly. And while this has been a conversation a long time, I think it is new to a lot of you. So I want to provide that opportunity for time. So,
thank you, Mr. Erickson. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I just have a question for you guys to bring back as well. So there are areas around, or in the city, northeast specifically, around like Rice Lake, where we have properties that are not annexed in, and their neighbor is, but it's specifically for the reasons that people have mentioned, because they're too low-lying, it would be too cost-prohibitive for the city. I'd like one of the things for us to do is just take a look at what areas we may run into issues with that as well. If there's a particular spot within this where we're gonna run into issues where it's just probably not gonna be cost-effective for the city to annex in, if we can just get an idea of that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Chesa?
Kind of a procedural thing. Did Mr. Bevins put a date on this in the motion?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? And then procedurally, is this going to affect what the county does next Tuesday? I think you asked to answer that question earlier, but do you see any issue?
Mr. Kramvik?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So I will make Chris Pence aware over at the county the outcome of tonight's meeting, and it would be up to them, I guess, if they want to keep it on their agenda or not for comments. Certainly, they couldn't pass the joint resolution, or it wouldn't pass until both parties have agreed to it.
Makes sense. All right. More discussion?
One question, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Mr. Bevins.
I heard somebody from the audience mention people outside of the city hooked up to utilities? I'd definitively like to have that answered because we've had that issue. And we have, I believe, an ordinance where they have to pay double on utilities. And I want to make sure that we cleaned all that up a year ago, like we thought, like we were told we had.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. Just do a voice vote. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Against, same sign. Motion carries. All right, if you were just here for that item with the annexation, feel free to leave. We'll give you a minute.
No applause, no applause.
No need to applause. We're not that great.
Refuse your jeers, or refuse your applause.
Good. I didn't know you lived in Riverside Drive. Whereabouts? Okay. I'm down on Island Drive and Sunset Way. Okay.
We still have our whole meeting?
It's just going to be when they're not here.
What time is it? Let me guess. 8:40. Okay, I was gonna say 8:30.
All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to number 7. Next up is council committee reports. First up is 7A, Personnel and Finance Committee Chairman Gabe Johnson.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. We've got 5 items tonight. The first of which is a revised job description and the hiring of 2 water service workers. And the motion is to approve the updated job description and authorize staff to begin the hiring process for 2 water service worker positions, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson.
We had a water crew chief retire last year, and we kind of hit pause on the backfilling to identify how to best work in that division. And what they've decided and what they brought forth to us here is to keep the 1 chief we have, but instead of hiring another crew chief, we'll hire 2 water service workers. So we'll have 1 crew chief and then 2 teams of 2 water service workers. And we should be able to work more efficiently and get more done and a better service to our water customers.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion carries. Chairman Johnson.
Okay, next up is the Baker Tilly proposal for community pool funding, and the motion is to authorize staff to enter into agreement with Baker Tilly to perform a financial analysis for the proposed YMCA community pool. Further, the funding to come from the special projects budget line item, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
So this is having staff work with Baker Tilly to give us what it would look like or could look like should we move forward with this YMCA project, how much it would cost, how long the terms of the bond would be, if there's any legal requirements like a referendum or anything. Have Baker Tilly just lay it all out and then present it to us so we can make a decision on that time if we want to move forward with this project or not.
All right, thank you, Chairman Johnson. Mr. Yeager?
Yes, I have a really quick question, perhaps Mr. Johnson or perhaps Connie. In the first line of the description, it says that if the debt for the pool were issued in 2026, there's no charge, the $5,000 would not be charged. Why is that? Is that because we're under a contract with them already, or how does that work? It sounds like, well,
Connie?
There's no way, here's $5,000, but there's no way to get to it.
It would be, if they would issue the debt, it would be part of our normal fee that we pay for issuing the debt. So
Or
this
it'd be rolled into the debt.
Right, it'd be rolled into the debt issue and the cost of issuance.
Got it.
Mr. Chesak?
Yeah, Mr. President, no matter what we do, we're gonna find out the YMCA wants $4 million, and this whole process would result in Baker Tilly telling us the options we have to give them $4 million. If you look at what our charter says about the funding we give to a few other organizations in this city, it's roughly $90,000 a year, I think, for each of those. So if you just $270,000 for each one, 90 times 3 is 270. This is almost 15 years worth of that funding for all 3 of those organizations that are charter approved. And again, we're asking the taxpayers of this town to take on more debt So we're gonna spend 5,000, or maybe it gets rolled in, whatever, to come back to us and say, well, yeah, if you wanna give them money, here's how you do it. I don't know, what that means in the future, if this money were to be given to the YMCA. I heard something about, well, the people of Brainerd would get a lower a price to use the pool. Wow, that's fantastic. And so instead of going over there and paying $5, you can pay $2. We have debt up the wazoo. Right now, we're coming up on fire department of $5.5 million, and that's something that I think our taxpayers would say, yep, that's a public service, that's a safety thing that the city provides. We're gonna have to levy for that through paying bonds, and that's the levy dollars we get from our property taxpayers. We have other infrastructure not related to levy dollars, but fees, water fees, sewer fees, water treatment fees. All of these things will be going up. We'll see that Mr. Morgan Salo will be here later in the meeting to tell us about the big plan we have for the wastewater treatment facility. So all of these things are fees or taxes, and we want to just throw another $4 million at a pool. We need parks. We got all kinds of parks. We levy capital improvements for them every single year. We got more than we can really pay for now, but we want more. We always want more. We got, somebody mentioned the water tower here earlier. We've given a lot of money for the water tower. I'm appreciative that people are trying to raise money to fix that. We have a water tower that's as old as our water plant, and we're looking at huge improvements on that are gonna come from more fees and bonding and interest. And nobody talked about the interest on these bonds. We'll be paying that. Well, the taxpayers, our levy goes to pay for that. So on we go, wanting more. We want everything, we can't pay for anything. This goes back to a pedestrian bridge. We all wanted the pedestrian bridge, but where's the money coming from? $4 million for a pool so they can teach third graders how to swim, because we don't have enough lakes around here where parents can take their kids to go swim, to teach them how to swim. So we need to have a pool. I'm just beside myself on how we come to this understanding of what are we doing to our taxpayers in this city. We just can't keep burdening them with more levy dollars. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to vote against this item. I just don't think it's the best use of public funds. You look at our next three agenda items: Trunk Highway 210, Fire Station, main lift station. We got a lot of infrastructure needs, and I just don't think this takes priority. Furthermore, I always have a hard time when we select certain nonprofits over others, and we've got a lot of great nonprofits in our community. And when we're using public funds to support certain nonprofits over others, and I think this is a fantastic proposal, I just don't think it's an excellent use of public funds. So I'm going to vote against it.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Anyone else? I'm a little torn on this one. I get the concern. I do want to know what the answer is, because my main concern, my main question about this is, how does this change our tax levy? How does that work? Is it going to be a major change on our tax levy or not? And this is a small amount to find out the answer to that. I can't tell you that I'm going to support it afterwards, but just a couple weeks ago, some people on this council voted to spend $30-some thousand just to find out how to redirect water out of 2 or 3 different parcels of property where no buildings were being damaged. So I think this is spending $5,000 to find out if we can help or if we can't. I'm still on board for that information. That's where I'm at right now, but that's not saying where I'll vote next time. Anyone else have any? Mr. Bordeaux?
Yeah, I'll echo your statements. I think 5,000 isn't going to break the bank. I'm never a huge fan of spending money for consulting. It irks me every single time. But in this instance, when you're talking about something that is so large, $4 million, the price tag of this to get the information that we need to make an advised decision, I can see us moving forward with this, at least to that step, as you said.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. Tony, let's do a roll call vote.
Erickson,
No.
Bevins,
Yes.
Chesak.
No.
Johnson,
Yes.
Stunek,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes. That motion carries. And Chairman Johnson.
All right, next up, we have a resolution here, and the motion is to adopt the attached resolution declaring the official intent of the city of Brainerd to reimburse certain expenditures from the proceeds of tax-exempt bonds or other obligations to be used by the city for the Trunk Highway 210 Washington Street project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson.
This resolution, along with the next two, are just kind of playing it safe, making sure we're dotting our i's, crossing our t's, so when we do get the bond funds, we can reimburse ourselves for any expenses incurred before we got that money. So we just have to pass a resolution to do that.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Tony, please call the roll.
Erickson,
Yes.
Bevins,
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yep.
O'Day.
Yes. That resolution carries. Chairman Johnson.
Okay, next up is another resolution, and the motion is to adopt the attached resolution declaring the official intent of the city of Brainerd to reimburse certain expenditures from proceeds of tax-exempt bonds or other obligations to be issued by the city for the Fire Station 1 remodel project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Bevins. Chairman Johnson.
Nothing to add.
Any more discussion? Tony, call the roll.
Erickson,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes. That resolution carries. Chairman Johnson.
Okay, and the third resolution in the same order, and the motion is to adopt the attached resolution declaring the official intent of the city of Brainerd to reimburse certain expenditures from the proceeds of tax-exempt bonds or other obligations to be issued by the city for the main lift reconstruction project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Stunek. More discussion? Seeing none. Tony, call the roll.
Erickson,
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yep.
Stunek.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes, that resolution carries.
End
Chairman
of
Johnson.
report.
Thank you, Chairman. Next up, we have 7B, Safety and Public Works Committee Chairman Tad Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've got 4 items on our agenda, first of which is authorized solicitation for improvement 2601. Motion coming out of committee is to authorize the solicitation for bids for improvement 2601, 2026 chip seal project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Chairman Erickson.
Staff's recommendation coming out of committee is simply to advertise for these bids. Several streets listed there, several in North Brainerd, several in South, for the chip seal treatment, intended to extend the useful life of these roads before we have to reconstruct at a much higher cost.
Thank you. More discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion carries. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you. Our second item is to authorize solicitation for improvement 2604. The motion coming out of committee is to solicit the improvement 2604 for 2026 CIPP lining project, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Chairman Erickson, anything to add?
Yeah, so this lining project would be for sanitary sewer main in North Brainerd between North 5th and North 7th Streets, and also between Washington and Juniper Streets. These areas planned for lining include sanitary mains. These are very old infrastructure built in 1905. Generally, these are very inaccessible. I think one or more go underneath structures. And so to tear those up and to reconstruct them would be an incredible burden and an incredible cost. And so this lining is an excellent way to get to those areas that are virtually irreplaceable.
Chairman. Mr. Chesak?
I have a question for staff, if I could. What's the anticipated lifespan of these liners?
Dean?
Depending on the conditions, it can go 20, 25 years. You have high groundwater, it can be less than that. It all depends on the conditions, but I would expect these areas to be in the realm of 20, 25 years.
So once the liner reaches its useful lifespan, is there a, what do we do then? Replace the liner?
You can potentially reline the same lining. Potentially, it depends on the situation.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. Motion carries. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you. This is our third item, update on Ronald Joseph Alley resurfacing project. There's no recommendation or action coming out of the committee for this one. Staff had received an inquiry from a resident through Councilman Chesak regarding the inclusion of lead service line replacements as part of the alley and improvement project, which is scheduled for construction in 2026. Mr. President, if you would allow, and Mr. Sandy, if I could ask you to give kind of a recap. You provided a really excellent timeline and description of this in committee.
Yeah, Mr. Sandy, go ahead.
Yep, thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. So we discussed this item when the inquiry was received from Councilman Chesak related to replacement of the galvanized water service lines for the Ronald Joseph Alley project. And at the time when Moore Engineering was hired as the consultant engineer for that project, the service line funding that we received from the Public Facilities Authority was not available at that time. So Moore Engineering scope of work did not include the galvanized water service line replacements. Since that time, the project has gone out to bid. A portion of the project has been constructed over on Hawkins Drive. And so J&J Excavating plans on starting here in the spring to resurface the alley and replace the water main in the alley. Staff had some internal discussion related to the galvanized water service line replacements in conjunction with this project. And based on the funding now being available for the replacements of the service lines, we have asked Bolton and Mink to provide a proposal for services to initiate a third galvanized water service line replacement project to replace the 13 lines on the Ronald Joseph Alley in conjunction with the construction. And so that'll be in front of the Public Utilities Commission at their February 24th meeting for consideration by the PUC. If it moves forward, Bolton and Mink would create quote packages and submit those under the no plan guidelines that the MDH has available for municipalities to do these projects and be reimbursed for the expenses to do so. And we're pursuing that method because it streamlines the timeline necessary to get plans done and get them pushed through the approval processes at the Department of Health. So at this moment in time, there's no action by the City Council. This was more of an update that although the original project plan did not include service line replacements, staff is investigating the potential for doing the service line replacements all the way to the house, and the commission will be taking action on that proposal at their next regular meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Just a quick question, clarification. So originally this project it didn't include any of those service line replacements. That was just up to the property owner, but this could possibly change that to where the contractor is going to take care of it and funds would be pulled from that same pool of funding?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, that is the case. We would use the $2.6 million that we were allocated for 2026 to replace not only the two projects we have identified in Southeast Brainerd with the reconstruction project and North Brainerd, which is like a phase one of high-density service line replacements in Northeast. This would be a third contract that we would be reimbursed for those expenses, both construction and engineering. Be no cost to the utility or the ratepayers.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President?
Mr. Chesak.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that these service lines from the house to the curb stop that a property owner would be responsible for if this funding was not available. There are a lot of nuance, this not just replacing the service line, but it's restoration. There's many surfaces. I'm sure Mr. Sandy could go on and tell us about numerous different, cement floors you got to dig up. There's structures over some of these. All these different things come into play, stairways, cement stairs, and all these things. So to help these people over there on the alley, I'm glad that we're able to get this cleared up, because had we actually, if I hadn't got a phone call, I don't think I would have known anything about this, even though I did ask about it about a year ago. If you see all that email that's in the packet. And I had forgotten all about that. And so when we got the funding late last year, I just assumed, like I know many other people did, that this alley service lines, private sewer service lines would be included. So at least at this point moving forward, it's up to the Public Utilities Commission to make this decision next Tuesday. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. Any more discussion on that one? And so we're not looking for a motion from us requesting public utilities do anything. This is ultimately their decision. Correct, okay. All right. Chairman Erickson?
Yep, no, so no action, no recommendation. Our last item then is direction on active code enforcement. The subject property is 611 4th Avenue Northeast. The motion coming out of committee is to cite a $300 citation and to pursue legal action with the city attorney, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Erickson, second by Chesak. Chairman Erickson?
Yeah, so as I said, the subject property, 611 4th Avenue Northeast. It's a confirmed unlicensed rental. The property owner received a notice of violation and then 3 administrative citations for noncompliance. Of course, it came to committee, and again, the recommendation is to apply the monthly $300 citation and to pursue legal action.
Thank you, Chairman. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Against, same sign.
Aye.
That motion carries. Chairman Erickson?
End of report, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Next up, we have unfinished business. 8A is a call for applicants. First up, we have the Honorable Mayor Badeau.
Hello, hello, hello. I have a couple nominations first before we get started. I have nominations for one Jeremy Powell for Parks and one Corey Johnson for PUC.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Chesak, second by Bevins. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. That motion carries.
Perfect. We have a bunch of other commissions available. We have some applications in, so time is of essence if you're looking to get in on those as well as we review applications. The following boards and commissions have positions available. Charter Commission, 2 terms expiring 2029, 2 terms expiring 2026. Economic Development Authority, 1 term expiring 2028, 1 term expiring 2031. Library, 1 term expiring 2027. Public Utilities Commission, 1 term expiring 2028. Transportation Advisory Committee, 1 term expiring 2026, 1 term expiring 2027. And that's it for me.
As Council President, I have 1 term open for the Airport Commission expiring 2028, 1 term open for the Planning Commission expiring 2028, and 2 terms open for the Water Tower Committee. And that does it for unfinished business. Next up, we have new business. 9A is a resolution conveying property to the EDA, and this will be Mr. Kramvik.
Thank you, Mr. President. Central Minnesota Dermatology is interested in the $1 per acre incentive program, which would allow them to relocate and build a new dermatology clinic in the TC Drive Industrial Park on lots 1 and 2 of Block 5 with the potential expansion of the business on Lot 3, Block 5. The purpose of this agenda item is for City Council to adopt the attached resolution which conveys the development property to the Brainerd EDA, subject to the successful negotiation and execution of the purchase and development agreement. I was informed by the attorney reviewing the purchase and development agreement after the packet went out that the City Council will also need to pass a resolution at the March 2nd meeting approving the business subsidy portion of the agreement. The business subsidy requirement, in summary, would require the developer to operate the facility for 5 years while maintaining 21 full-time equivalent jobs and the creation of 1 FTE. Also, the developer must decide on the 3rd property within 5 years of receiving the certificate of occupancy for the first building, so that property would not be conveyed immediately. Also, the developer is required to pay the city broker fee of 6.5% of the appraised market value of the land. And if passed, the EDA would consider the purchase and development agreement at their March meeting, again, if approved. I can answer any questions. I believe the developer is also present, and Jennifer Haskamp should be online.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Does anybody have questions? Mr. Chesak?
Yes, do we have the appraised property value?
We do not. We are currently under contract to get that property appraised.
And then whose cost is that?
That's part of the developer's cost and part of the $10,000 escrow that was deposited in.
Okay, if the business doesn't provide the required number of full-time equivalent employees, I hate to put you on the spot, James, but I believe you said that we can ask them to pay for the property?
Yeah, so there'd be, potential ramifications of that subsidy agreement if the full-time employees aren't maintained, and then may be subject then to actually purchase the property at market value.
What leverage do we have over them to see that they do that?
With the purchase and development agreement, the terms of it.
So that would wind up, if they said no, we'd wind up in court.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussions or questions for staff?
I have a motion when you're ready.
Johnson, go ahead.
I'd move to adopt the resolution conveying lots 1 and 2 of Block 5, TC Drive, Industrial Park, First Edition to the EDA, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Erickson. Johnson?
Well, we've had a number of votes on this, and it continues to move forward. I just want to thank the business owner and the family for investing in Brainerd, and this is it's an exciting project, so I'm really happy to see it continue to move forward.
Agreed. Mr. Yeager?
Yeah, thank you very much. Kind of stole my thunder there, but Mr. Johnson. But yes, I'd like to say the same thing as a member of the EDA. I'd also like to thank Swanson Hascamp for their partnership, their work in bringing this forward, and we certainly look forward to having you here in the city of Brainerd. So thank you very much for everyone involved.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. I'll just echo what everybody else is saying, because this is an industrial park that's been sitting mostly vacant, besides FedEx, for quite a while. And to see a development like this go in to the most visible part of the industrial park is a huge bonus. So looking forward to seeing it happen. Any more discussion? Seeing none. It's a resolution. Tony, call the roll.
Erickson?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes.
Chesak?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Yeager?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes, that resolution carries. All right, next up we have a presentation that we moved. This will be the 10A presentation from Bolton and Mink for the Brainerd Wastewater Treatment Facility Plan. Mr. Chesak and I were able to sit through this presentation last week, but it was so good we're going to sit here and watch
Do it again.
Mr. President,
Mr. Chesak.
please excuse me while I use the men's room.
Oh, sure.
I've heard this before.
Yeah, he knows exactly how long it is, too. We'll see you in 25 minutes.
It's fun to hear about moisture content.
Yeah.
Morgan?
No worries, Mr. Chesak. You've heard this once before. You'll hear it again on Tuesday. So, quick introduction. I'm Morgan Salem, a principal water and wastewater engineer for Bolton and Mink. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the wastewater treatment facility plan. This is the long-term roadmap for wastewater treatment for the facility. And so we're going to go through tonight the facility summary, some design flows and loadings of what we look at and project out over the next 25 plus years, the current treatment process for the liquids portion and the solids portion of the wastewater facility. We're going to evaluate or look at the liquid stream treatment alternatives that were evaluated, the biosolids alternatives, again, the solids portion of the wastewater treatment, and then the recommendations and capital cost opinions and O&M cost opinions moving forward. So a little bit of history. The facility was originally constructed in 1982. In 2009, there was a major improvement conducted to the current treatment process, which is sequencing batch reactors and some other improvements. In 24 and 25, Bolton Mink conducted a 20-year asset inventory where we go and look at the facility, identify needs, deficiencies, and where we should prioritize capital dollars being spent on the facility. Out of that report, it was identified that biosolids improvements are a high priority and should be considered as one of the first phases of projects for the treatment improvements. Additionally, the liquid treatment would need to be updated and improved when more stringent limits are enacted at the facility for nitrogen and phosphorus. And so, again, biosolids storage capacity was a driver for the biosolids improvements and then more stringent nutrient limits because we want to continue to support the community growth for the next 25 plus years. The facility plan is the roadmap to do so. It's part of the statute requirements in Minnesota for funding for these infrastructure improvements. Looking at flows and loadings, this is how we determine how big the facility needs to be, what type of equipment we need to use. And so the middle column under the current is the average of the last 6 years of data that we have for the facility. We utilize several different methods to project the flows and loadings out to 2050. The column on the right is our design criteria for the wastewater treatment infrastructure for 2050. Currently, the facility takes wastewater from Brainerd and from Baxter. The wastewater is pumped to the station from to the facility from lift stations, where it goes through screening to remove large debris, followed by grit removal to remove finer, denser debris, following by the sequencing batch reactors. Those are the biological treatment component at the facility that is currently used. The liquid goes to UV disinfection, ultraviolet disinfection, before being discharged to the Mississippi River. When we treat wastewater, we have a liquid portion, but there's also a solid portion. We generate solids from the treatment. So the current process for handling solids at the facility are to store them in tanks before we thicken the solids. They're stored in another tank that's aerated, and then we send it to digesters. The digestion process breaks down the solids even more. That's required if we want to send it out to land application. From the digestion, they're stored in a storage tank before being land applied onto fields. Alluded to earlier, primary needs. Biosolids improvements are a primary need at the facility currently. One of the drivers for that is MPCA requires 180 days of biosolids storage. From 2014 to 2019 and again in 2022, when we look at the biosolids production at the facility, we were producing more biosolids than what could be stored at the facility. So we were underneath that 180-day threshold. We were, again, producing more solids than what could be stored. And so currently, when we look at the production numbers over the last few years, we're tiptoeing right on that line. We're right at that 180-day mark. Some years we're slightly above, some years we're slightly below. Because we're land applying the biosolids onto agriculture and other production type fields, the weather can greatly impact our ability to land apply. When it's wet conditions out or the ground is frozen and we need to apply those solids, but we can't get into the fields, or landowners take their land out of the program, we start stacking up the biosolids and we run into more of a storage problem. So weather is one of the biggest impactors when we look at the land application availability. When we look at the liquid side of things, the current treatment process with the SBRs has some significant limitations for treating the future nitrogen and phosphorus limits when those limits are enacted and become more stringent. And we also need to improve some facility operations, some basic facility maintenance components for repairing leaking roofs, building maintenance items, and then system improvements such as equipment replacement in the preliminary treatment building and electrical improvements to replace obsolete components. So we're going to go through just a few of the liquid treatment analysis alternatives. The goals for this is, again, nutrient removal, solids removal. We need to treat the liquid stream to send it out to the river so we have a clean, sustainable facility that can, we're going to supply that water back to the river. So we evaluated 5 different alternatives: sequencing batch reactors, which is the current process; activated sludge, traditional biological nutrient removal, often called activated sludge BNR; integrated fixed film activated sludge; membrane bioreactors; and biologically aerated filters. Through the analysis, there's a lot of different components that go into this process. We identified the primary 2 that were feasible for future technologies at Brainerd facility, which is sequencing batch reactors and activated sludge BNR. A little bit about SBRs, short name for sequencing batch reactors. They treat wastewater in batches. It's a tank, you fill it up, you have different cycles within that same tank, you treat the water, and then you send it out. These SBRs are not ideally suited for large variations in flows and loadings due to the nature of treating it all in one tank. There's a lot of biology that has to occur in wastewater treatment. Very difficult to control and maintain specific type of microbes in the treatment facility. So there's some limitation when it comes to meeting specific nutrient removal requirements. Currently, the SBRs, there's some inefficiencies when it comes to these processes as well. We've identified that some of the biology is not maintained properly to meet the goals of what the treatment facility is trying to achieve. The blowers that are required for this have a large oxygen demand, and there's a lot of inefficiencies when it comes to providing that oxygen for the water. And then we are limited in operational control and flexibility, somewhat because of the current tank configuration, but also because these SBR equipment manufacturers, it's proprietary equipment. And so we have less control over the actual controls portion of the treatment. Activated sludge biological nutrient removal is a process where we treat the wastewater in a series of tanks in different biological conditions. We utilize clarifiers to separate the liquids and the solids later on in the process. This is the most common process that's used in wastewater treatment engineering around the globe and around the nation. It's the operational familiarity and flexibility is a positive for operators. They know how to run it. They know what the type of equipment is going to be, and they have more process control. We can control the biology. We can monitor more of the biology. It allows us to be more effective and provide an energy and cost savings when we can be more efficient with our operations. These facilities are designed to meet current stringent and more future stringent limits for nitrogen, phosphorus, and other nutrients. It can be retrofitted quite easily into existing infrastructure, and that there's really not limited by proprietary equipment because a lot of this stuff is easily procured from multiple vendors. So in summary, after going through the entire analysis on liquids treatment, the SBRs will require significant modifications to meet total nitrogen limits and total phosphorus limits when those are enacted in the permitting process for the facility in the future, and there's no guarantee that we'll be able to hit those with the SBR process. Operationally, it's less flexible, so the recommendation would be to convert to the activated sludge biological nutrient removal process. However, that's going to be limit driven. So we're not saying it has to be converted today, because today the operation of the SBRs is working. When we get to that next stage of treatment requirements, the limits would drive the conversion to activated sludge. We'd optimize to meet future limits to make sure that we maintain cost savings, and the operators would understand and know the technology and know how to run this. So that was the liquids portion. Now we're going to talk about biosolids, the second half of wastewater treatment. So when we look at biosolids treatment, we talked again about how the solids are thickened, they go to digestion, they're stored, they go out to the land. Alternative one would be keeping the same process. It'd be expanding, rehabbing those components, adding additional sludge storage, because that's one of the limiting factors right now. Alternative two would be conversion of the facility, of the biosolids portion, to a dewatering facility. We have future phases of work that we've identified. There would be specific drivers for these. One would be going to heat drying, and the second one is thermal destruction or thermal oxidation of the biosolids. So a little bit about the biosolids program in Brainerd. The facility has one 5,000-gallon tanker truck. On average, on a year, they have about 1,000 truck trips, a little under 1,000 truck trips to dispose of the solids to the current sites. There are several sites, about 1,300 acres of approved land to dispose of the solids on, that are about an average 10 to 15 miles away. So that equals 24,000 miles a year. That adds to maintenance costs on vehicles, load-out equipment, actually applying it to the fields, and diesel costs for the trucking for that. Over the last couple of years, Brainerd historically it's been 300 to 400 acres of land has been utilized. The last couple of years, because of the PFAS biosolids that MPCA has released guidance on, they've been spreading those solids out on more of the acres. So we're using about 50% of the available acres that we have now. That takes about 3 BPU staff over 7 to 8 months consistently every year to do to run the biosolids program at the facility. And again, I mentioned earlier, if the weather is unseasonably wet, if the ground is frozen, and we delay land application, we run into the issue of biosolids storage. Where do we store the solids that we're producing every single day we treat the wastewater? And that becomes a significant issue with environmental concerns and operational concerns. When we look at alternative one, additional sludge storage and rehabbing the existing, this would basically, again, keeping the same process, we would need to construct an additional 1.75 million gallon tank to store the solids after they've been digested. This would get us to our 180-day threshold for biosolid storage. We'd have to purchase additional tanker truck, tractor, load-out equipment to haul and handle the biosolids. Additional staff would likely need to be hired in order to process all this stuff. And then with this option, we would also rehab the digesters and the gas equipment. Those are high capital cost, high energy demand processes. And land application is your only disposal option. We can't go to landfill. There's no other option for disposing of the solids. It still have to go to the land application process. So when we look at the impacts of that on land application, based on our future projections for solids production, we'd be doing about 1,300 trips and 33,000 miles annually to dispose of the solids, utilizing by rehabbing the current process that's in there and providing more sludge storage. So when we look at dewatering facilities, dewatering, we would decommission the thickening building, we would decommission the digester building and get rid of all that equipment, and we would construct a new dewatering building with new equipment. That would be a screw press or a centrifuge. The goal is to squeeze as much water out of it as possible, and we're gonna get to a consistency that's 20%. It's like toothpaste. It's a consistency of toothpastes. So if you think of a tube of toothpaste, that's what we're trying to get to. We would convert
Don't use it as
addition.
toothpaste, though.
You don't want to use that toothpaste, though.
We don't like fluoride around here.
So some of the tankage could be converted. There's still some useful life left in the concrete of some of the tankage. We can convert that to additional storage or additional process tankage for future improvements. This option provides you flexibility for how you store and dispose of the cake. It's called a cake product when it's done. It sets you up for future drying, one of those additional future phases, and it creates an opportunity for land application or landfill. If you run into an issue of land application, you lose sites, you don't have enough available land to dispose of the solids, you can go send the solids to a landfill. Again, on the left on this slide, on the left-hand side is the baseline 1,300 trips, 33,000 miles annually for the basically alternative one. On the right-hand side of the slide is if we dewater to a Class B product, which can be landfilled or land applied at 20% solids, we cut our trips down to about 150 trips or 3,700 miles annually for disposal of the solids. Future treatment processes would include something that looks like heat drying. Heat drying is adding heat to a dewatered biosolid to continue to remove more of the free water bound up in those solids. This would create a Class A product, was what the biosolids would be considered. Drying systems always follow dewatering. We have to dewater first before we go to any version of drying. Biosolids, or the phase one project I'm going to talk about in a minute here, would be constructed with heat drying in mind so that you can build these processes together and phase them into the infrastructure at the facility. Class A products simplifies land disposal, mainly because you're continue to break down those solids even more, and it just allows you to spread the solids out on the land with less restrictions from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. The driver for going to heat drying, we talked a little bit about drivers for liquids. The driver for going to heat drying processes would be when you start losing land, available land, or there's nutrient impacts or metal impacts from the biosolids on that land that you have to stop applying to that land, those acres, or when you need to reduce the overall amount of biosolids you're hauling out of the facility. Again, these facilities are built in phases a lot of times, where we have a dewatering phase, we hit the driver for a heat drying phase, we add on heat drying, and then lately the talk has been about PFAS, and so we would look at how do we phase in future thermal destruction of the biosolids. The impact of land drying, left-hand side again, 1,300 trips, 33,000 miles annually. Right-hand side, we get to 20% cake. We then go through a solids dryer, which applies heat, and we get to 90 to 95% solid, so a very dusty, dry product. We're down to about 30 trips, 800 miles annually of disposal to the exact same sites. We're not considering additional sites if they're further away or even closer. Class A products open up some availability for additional sites to be considered. So, recommendations. What we're looking at here is a lot of different things we've considered for wastewater improvements. So, drivers for these improvements are built into these recommendations. The first recommendation in phase one to do a phase one project is construct a new dewatering biosolids facility with a cake treatment process, and then we would want to do system improvements, pre-treatment improvements for equipment replacement that's exceeded its useful life, electrical improvements, and other facility system maintenance improvements for building rehab, building modifications, items of those nature. The second phase project would be conversion to the activated sludge biological nutrient removal process. That would be limit driven. That would be limit driven from the NPDES permit standpoint when we see limits are going to be in effect on the permit and we need to meet more stringent phosphorus, more stringent total nitrogen limits. That would simplify the treatment process at the facility. It's flexible and expandable for continuing to meet future needs for the communities, and it's your best opportunity to receive grant dollars when those limits do come into effect. The third third phase for the process project would be adding heat drying to the biosolids, again, when there's that driver to add heat drying. Everybody's favorite, cost opinions on all of this. So I've identified here the two primary alternatives, and these might look a little different than what's in your packet. We made a few updates to the slides in the last week or so since we presented the Joint Wastewater Board. To meet future requirements for the SBRs, 58 to 72 million. Activated sludge is in that 70, 88 million dollar range for the necessary improvements to go to meet those nutrient requirements. O&M costs are very critical to look at when we're looking at treatment improvements. Currently, the baseline O&M from the data that we have from BPU is that it's $5.2 million per year for O&M. When we look at the improvements and we want to see how much additional O&M are we expecting to see based on the conversion to these technologies. We can see that for both SBR and activated sludge, it's about $500,000 a year. There is a range that goes in with that, but we're expecting about $500,000 a year. That's mainly due to maintenance, staffing, a significant chemical feed to meet phosphorus limits, and additional utilities required to run the facility. Biosolids treatment, there's four options up here. The top two expand existing and dewatering, alternative 1 and 2 respectively. If we look at expanding the existing and rehabbing the digesters, that's a capital cost of 32 to 38 million. If we look at dewatering, that capital cost is 25 to 32 million to convert to a dewatering facility. The heat drying and thermal destruction portions, those would be additive to either alternative 1 or alternative 2, right? And we're recommending alternative 2, the dewatering portion. So if you were to look at heat drying and thermal destruction for PFAS in subsequent phases, those costs would be additive to alternative 2. Again, looking at the O&M, we have a $5.2 million operating budget. That's the base budget for this facility. And we can see alternative 1 does have a significant increase in O&M. A lot of that is due to additional utility and natural gas usage to power the boilers, to run the boilers, and the pumps and mixing equipment that's required. There's a large energy demand there. When we look at dewatering, there's a significantly less increase in O&M costs when we're running a dewatering facility. Again, some of those dewatering costs are some utilities, staffing, cleaning, maintenance, stuff like that. Heat drying and thermal destruction O&M costs would be additive to the dewatering because those would be brand new processes, and those would need to be considered for future phases when building the rate structure. And so when we phase these improvements out, what we can expect to see for phase 1, pretreatment, biosolids dewatering, and the facility system improvements, we're looking at about a $42 million project for phase 1. When the driver hits for phase 2 to convert to activated sludge, that's where you get to the $70 to $88 million cost tag for phase 2. Rate impacts, this table shows the projected rate impacts for wastewater treatment facility improvements only. There's a lot of different ways to start looking at these numbers, but this way, what we do is we take what the capital costs, annual O&M projections, the total is, and the existing debt service, we annualize all that and look at what the average person utilizing or the average person in the community utilizing the wastewater treatment system, what their bill would look like for the treatment-only portion. So you can see with phase 1 improvements in the middle column, the average person for using wastewater would expect their bill to have a $53.45 charges on it for the treatment-only portion for phase 1. When we get to phase 2, that would go up to $80.85 based on current projections. Yes?
Before the 53, what were you looking at the base? What was it before?
35.
35. Yep. That's based on existing budget, existing debt service, and the current number of equivalent dwelling units within the communities.
Is that an average, Morgan, or is that a base fee? Projected average or base fee?
Average.
Okay.
This is based on the average user within the system.
Okay.
Yep. And the purpose of these are to help communities set rate structures to fund the debt service. That's a lot of rate studies would need to get done to understand what the impacts are of the treatment of the debt and the O&M to develop a rate structure to fund those debt services. Again, these represent what the average bill could look like for the average user by funding these improvements. And the city of Baxter is in there because they are a user of the wastewater treatment facility, so their estimated cost per month is also included in this rate structure table. So funding sources are an important way. We want to understand how do we fund these improvements. They're expensive, they're big, they're long projects. The Minnesota Public Facilities Authority, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency run the Clean Water Revolving Fund process. Those are SRF funds delegated from the federal government down to the state to fund this type of work. They're typically low interest loans over 20 to 30 years. 1 to 3% interest rate has kind of been the historical norm for that. I mentioned earlier when we convert to activated sludge B&R, there's a good chance that we can get grant dollars for that to cover some of those costs. That would be through a point source implementation grant. Those are nutrient-based grants where you get a new limit. You can go after these PSIG grants. That's 80% of eligible costs up to $12 million. That was just up this year from $9 million, I believe. And then there's affordability-based funding, which is wastewater infrastructure funding, or WIF grants. That's affordability-based to limit the impact to ratepayers in the community. That has a cap of $9 million. There's an equation that you go through to calculate your eligibility there. There's city bonding, capital state bonding requests through the MMB portal, and lobbying local legislators to get written into the omnibus bill. There's assessments, and then congressional spending dollars from federal representatives, House, and at the Senate. So next steps, if you want to hear this again, I'm going to present the same presentation at the public hearing at the Brainerd Public Utilities Commission, February 24th, 2026 at 9 a.m. At that, after the meeting, after the public hearing, the commission will adopt via resolution the facility plan. And then we can submit that to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Once we get the preliminary approval back from that, we would recommend moving into preliminary engineering for the phase 1 improvements that would identify more refined cost estimates, identify the final scope for final design for the biosolids and system improvements. And we would anticipate starting a design early next year in 2027 with a construction schedule starting in that late 27, early 28, which is what meets BPU's current capital improvements plan for biosolids improvements. Anticipating that 20 to 30 month construction, again, that's kind of high level right now, and that we would want to continue to monitor future limits and develop that decision matrix for when we would want to switch to activated sludge B&R. And with that, I will take questions.
Thank you, Morgan. Mr. Johnson.
2 questions. First one is, can you repeat the part of the stuff where you said all about the things?
I know you guys.
On a more serious note, I don't know if you pay attention to the news, but DC Water is doing some very innovative things right now. I think we could save money. Have you considered taking that approach? They have a broken pipe and they're dumping 10 million gallons of raw sewage into the Potomac every day. They've got the Potomac, we got the Mississippi. Let's just saving money.
India does it too, I heard.
No, but thanks for the stuff, Mark.
Yes.
Mr. Yeager. I wouldn't either. And then Mr. Chadwick.
Thank you for a presentation. Question, so on your O&M, your O&M is based upon a 20-year, I think it's based on a 20-year loan, is that right? How long does the equipment actually last? So the O&M does not factor in replacement cost of the equipment, and so how long is our window?
So typically, some of it depends on the condition, the treatment process, the equipment is. Typically, we say wastewater equipment has a 15 to 20-year useful life. Concrete tanks are in that 50 to 75-year useful life for some of the equipment. Pre-treatment equipment, you're probably in that 10 to 15-year useful life window.
Okay, so that's a fairly low window. So realistically, you need to take the O&M plus the replacement cost in 15 and 20 years.
And hopefully the
correct?
Paid off.
Right.
And a lot of the equipment replacements, pumps, process equipment, stuff like that, that gets heavily used. Wastewater is a harsh environment. It chews away at a lot of stuff. We try to design and build things with a lot of anti-corrosion components to kind of mitigate that, and that's where you do the cost-benefit analysis of paying more for the stainless steel versus how much does it cost to replace it.
And just, sorry, Mr. Chair, if I may, do the cookers have adverse effects to the surrounding for sound, odor, those types of things? I'm assuming that's part of the infrastructure construction, part of the construction is mitigating those types of things?
You're talking about the dryers?
The dryers, cookers, yep.
Yeah, so typically those are in a building.
Yep.
And A lot of times we put air systems in to scrub the air, so we don't have the odor problems.
And is that in this or no? Are those systems as a part of this, of what?
Part of the equipment typically. I mean, there's
Okay.
a whole HVAC line that goes into these air scrubber systems. BPU currently has one for the pre-treatment building.
Okay.
They are a higher O&M maintenance item.
Yep.
Because you have a lot of dirty air going in, you got to
Because of
clean the
scrubbers,
equipment. Yep, exactly. Water scaling is a problem in scrubbers quite a bit. You can get a lot of issues with the water scaling in those scrubbers. But that is typically built inside a building, and we do have provisions to mitigate any odors coming out.
Okay.
For heat drying.
That's it, sir. Thank you.
Before we go to Mr. Chesak, Mr. Sandy, did you have something to
It
add?
was just an interesting point that Kevin brought up. That question, or a version of your question, was asked at the Joint Wastewater Management Board related to the rate impact. And, the thought was from some of the board members that, once we pay this project off, the rates could go back down to maybe what they were before. But given the life cycle of this equipment at the wastewater treatment plant, you're always going to be planning the next 25-year equipment replacement cycle. And as inflation keeps on happening and prices keep going up, your rates are going to have to continue to follow that 20 to 25-year planning cycle. And so it was an interesting question that got detailed out at the wastewater management board meeting that Kevin brought up here.
Yeah, rates just don't tend to go down almost ever on anything, it seems like, so. Mr. Chesak?
Yeah, that was what my comment was gonna be. I don't know if Morgan mentioned it, but the example of the rate at 35 today would go up to perhaps 53. That's over a 50% increase. However, that is without any grant money or other bonding money where there's no payback from the people users. Correct?
Correct. Then, yeah, I should have mentioned that. Those rates that I had projected up here for the average user on the system does not factor in any grant dollars. And this is kind of the worst case scenario if growth stagnates and then the same population and the same households have to fund the debt service.
And that's what we'll be visiting on the next item. Anybody have more questions for Morgan? Doesn't look like it. Thanks, Morgan.
Thank you.
So at the end of our meeting, at the wastewater joint meeting, Mr. Chesak had to take off a little early, but there was two motions at the end of the meeting. One was to recognize the recommendation and recommend it to the council, is just an advisory, and the council is just advisory to Brainerd Public Utilities Commission on that. But we did vote on that. It was unanimous. Myself, Mike Anglin, Chair of BPU Commission, and Mark Cross and Zach Tabbitt of Baxter's City Council. We're all in agreement with that. And then we moved on to what our next item is, and I'm going to pass this over to Mr. Broyles for that. And this is 9B, priorities for federal House appropriations, fiscal year 2027.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks for swapping these. I thought it made much more sense. I think Morgan's presentation laid a good foundation for this conversation, and this is, can we get some money to help offset some of these costs? So, staff, we did receive an email from Congressman Stopper's office on February 9th. They're just looking for ideas for community projects. This obviously came to the fore. Just by way of a little bit of background, last year Congressman Stopper got 15 of his projects funded. I want to say the largest one was about $4 million. $5 million. We had submitted some last year. We didn't get picked up for anything. But so this year, it's already been touched on. We're going to talk about phase one. This is phase one of Morgan's presentation, which basically is the biosolids process, some of the dewatering, some ancillary facility type work. But the Joint Wastewater Management Board, as President O'Day just mentioned, recommended that both cities of Brainerd and Baxter submit this as their one and only request to Congressman Stopper's office. Incidentally, the deadline to get those in is March 7th. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Paul was at the City of Baxter's council meeting earlier today, and I believe the City of Baxter unanimously approved this as their number one and only. So the recommended motion for staff here today, and Bolton and Mink, they said they would step up and they would take care of preparing the funding application for this, and they would roll that into their existing contract with the facility plan. So Bolton and Mank said they would submit the application in Congressman Stauber's office. They'll provide some supporting materials, some exhibits, some informational handouts, et cetera. So staff recommends that the City Council authorize submission of the community project funding request for Congressman Stauber's office for Phase 1 wastewater treatment facility improvements. Again, this is for pretreatment upgrades, biosolids process improvements, and ancillary facility enhancements. Total requested is $10 million, and if you recall, the estimated cost for Phase 1 was about $38 to $48 million. So this would be about 25% of the total cost, but we're asking this body to say, yes, let's go to Congressman Stauber with one request for $10 million for this project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Chesak, second by Erickson. Do you have questions?
I do. Just real quickly, you may be able to answer this, but is Bolton Mank preparing applications for other communities trying for the exact same amount of money? But what I'm getting at here, please.
Want me to come up?
Yeah, please. So just to make sure I understood this right, we got notification on February 9th that we can apply for money, but the application's due March 7th, so that's
correct.
Okay, and how much time and effort is going to go into this application, just out of curiosity?
We're meeting tomorrow with staff to discuss some options for brainstorming ideas and how to capitalize on this funding request. The congressional spending dollar portals, we don't necessarily know when they are going to open or when they're going to close necessarily. So we want to capitalize on this request while it's still out there. And so the level of effort is going to be fairly minimal. There's some stuff that we've worked with BPU enough. We have a lot of information already ready to go. It's really just formatting it on a page and figuring out what are the key points that we want to drive home. Okay. And then also continuing to have the local support to talk to the legislatures is a key driver in how to get that funding.
And you're just doing this work gratis on the come?
Yep, it's part of what we like to do.
And
That's $7.5 million.
Well, I'm getting to that. So are you, and just out of curiosity, are you doing the same work for other municipalities after the same money? Are you going to take this app? See where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So my focus is to work for BPU.
Okay.
Right. That's my focus, and providing funding for these projects that we presented on.
Understood.
Yep.
That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You bet. And if it makes you feel any better, I've spoken personally with Mr. Stauber about this project in particular more than once, and he's very interested in this project because it's such a high impact project, multiple communities involved. It's something that we need to do based on what the federal government has said. So he wants to help. And
awesome.
I think it's great. Anyone else? Mr. Sandy?
One other item is that we'll be monitoring Senator Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar's for when they open their funding application requests, and working to submit those same requests through those people. So.
Thank you. Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. That motion carries. That'll do it for new business tonight. Moving on to staff reports. Tony Gage? Oh, I thought today was gonna be the day. Mr. Charpentier, in person.
Hello, nothing to report.
Oh, I thought you had something. I thought that's why you were here. Mr. Rundy?
Nothing from the police.
Nothing tonight. Max Hennon? Teresa, anything? Connie Hillman? Jesse Dean? James Kramvik?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Finally, somebody's got something.
Combo breaker.
So just want to remind the council that we do have an upcoming planning commission meeting tomorrow night. Commission will be reviewing 3 items. 3 proposals for updating the comprehensive plan were submitted. So the planning commission will review those. A variance request to split a property in the industrial park for mini storage. Then a CUP request for the dermatology clinic to exceed the off-street parking maximum number because of the multi-level building. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Kramvik. Attorney Langel? Brittany Cummett, HR?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Not yet, okay. Maybe next time.
Maybe.
Paul Sandy, BPU?
Just a commission meeting February 24th related to the public hearing and the resolution for the facility plan. That was discussed tonight. Otherwise, just pretty standard items on the agenda for next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Administrator Broyles?
Charter Commission meeting on Thursday night, not Wednesday. It's been Wednesday the last 2 or 3 times, but Thursday night, Charter Commission.
Thank you, Administrator Broyles. Next up, we have the Honorable Mayor Bedeau.
You know, we heard a couple really good band names tonight. One being Future Thermal Destruction. Really like that one. I also like Digested Sludge. I thought that was a good one as well, so thank you for that.
That's all he got out of that whole presentation.
I have been waiting for a half hour to make that joke. I also just want to say we're coming up on the wonderful time of year known as St. Patrick's Day. Our wonderful downtown is getting excited for that. It is always the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day, so that is the 14th this year. So Saturday, March 14th. I may not be here this year, so if somebody wants to wear the mayor's hat and ride in the parade, I'll take applications for representation of the mayor. My son is going to be playing baseball down in Florida, so that'll be a lot of fun to go watch. I may be back, I may not be, so I may have to look to Stunek or somebody to put the mayor's hat on.
Got to fill in the mayor again?
Again.
I might be measuring snow by then.
You might be, so.
It's happened before.
But again, well, yeah, we can get you a sled, you can get pulled, but.
I need a new yardstick.
Saturday, March 14th. And I'm looking at you, Teresa, because, once again, treasure hunt is on. So looking right at you, the winners last year was the Dispatch. So looking at you, treasure hunt is on. $500 cold hard cash, folks. And I won't even be here to celebrate with you, so I don't even know how you're gonna get it. Somebody else is gonna have to get it for you, so. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to council member reports. Mr. Chesak?
Yeah, when are you gonna make that treasure hunt accessible to blind people?
Oh,
Yeah.
Come on,
I
Dave.
like it.
It doesn't currently meet ADA requirements, does it?
Americans with Disabilities is coming your way, Mayor.
I will stand in a corner with a loudspeaker and yell the clues.
Yeah, like that's gonna help. Okay, anyway, thank you very much for that. Mr. Sandy forgot the very important item next Tuesday is the water service lines, for the alley over there, if the commission is gonna move forward with that, because that is a very interesting topic. And other than that, I hope everybody is safe if the snow accumulates to a lot. So that's all I got.
Not.
Mr. Chesak? Mr. Stunek, let's go with you.
I have nothing.
I don't believe
What
that.
I wanted to say, I
You have a
won't
lot.
say.
You have a lot. Mr. Yeager?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a real quick update. The day has finally arrived that our new airport director will be inhabiting the airport over there. She begins Monday at 8 o'clock. We'll have a few people out to say hi, but feel free to stop by, say hi. Jennifer Roach, we're anxious to have her. And then also, don't forget, folks, our early morning flights are back. They begin March 8th. You can start booking them now. Have a look at them. So it's very similar to how it was before. Leaving 6:30, 6:45-ish in the morning, returning 9:45 or something like that in the evening. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Mr. Bevins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, I will be attending the Charter Commission meeting Thursday at 5 o'clock, right here in council chambers. A lot of exciting stuff going on with our charter. And last week, I had the pleasure of being with Jesse Dean, our city engineer, at the special library meeting regarding a grant that they received in 2024 for a bunch of new computers, which is exciting, a new room to put the computers in, a new meeting room, and probably the thing they're most excited about is upgraded storage for books in the basement. So lots of exciting things happening in the city of Brainerd.
I hope the computers are 2026 models and not the 24 models.
They're these old boat anchors that we're
Okay.
turning back in.
Did you get a basement tour too?
I don't think I've been on there long enough.
Okay.
I think
You
you have
gotta
to
work
be
your
there
way.
for a certain
Yeah.
number of, I mean, you have to sign out a certain number
Maybe
of books.
2027.
You get an upgrade.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bevins. Chairman Erickson?
Yeah, just that I'll be attending the meeting James referenced, tomorrow, the Planning Commission meeting, and then, of course, next week, Region 5 Development Commission on Thursday. And then, Jeff, I'll just stand up for Paul. He did mention that meeting earlier in the meeting. The lead service line dates.
Yeah, that's over there.
All right.
We'll have to replay the video. We'll find out.
Yeah, it's a good
Thank
one.
you, Chairman Erickson. Chairman Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. O'Day. Also looking at you, Teresa, I just want to announce that the Pee Wee B1 Brainerd Warrior hockey team has last weekend won the district tournament And it's the first time the PBB1 team has since at least 2009. I can't find any history predating that. So it's a generational type of event that deserves a load of media coverage.
So in recorded human history is what you're
What
saying.
about, what about them kicksters?
Oh, well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Well, maybe Mike will. I won't.
Meeting at 10 o'clock tonight.
Okay, well, I do ask everybody to keep that, those boys and that girl in your prayers as they advance on.
Thank you, Chairman Johnson. I will mention the Kicksters, an organization that I financially support year-round. So this is a three-peat for the Kicksters in kick, and their first time ever medaling in jazz, and they got first in both. So that's a pretty amazing feat.
Double shift.
So, you know, it's kind of hard for all these guys that are playing sports in Brainerd right now to know that our best athletic team is mostly girls.
There you go, double ship.
But congratulations to them. I know they've worked really hard and they are very impressive. So, and thank you everybody for your participation tonight. These are those meetings like Mr. Yeager said earlier that you sometimes lose sleep over. You try not to think about it
Or
too much.
sleep at.
Or just don't think about it at all. But either way, when you do get in here and you have to make a decision, it's not always easy. But maybe slowing it down tonight, I think we'll learn more. Sorry to staff that you probably have more work ahead of you, but a lot of questions that are going to get answered in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can get a better understanding of where we all stand with that. So with that, looking for
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion by Stunek, second by Bevins. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Against, same sign. We're adjourned.